Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Obioma. I'm a pastor, I'm a prophet, and let's get right into it. I went through a lot in 2023. Like, don't even want to tell you half the testimony. Long and short, huge transition year, right? Went from a church that I was previously at for like 7, 8 years to going into a new church, trying to understand what God is doing in my life and trying to remain firmly planted at the feet of Jesus. And it was an exercise, not just in trusting God, but in great humility on my part. And so, long and short, my husband and I had been at this church. Him less than me because he recently came to the United States so we could be together. And I had been pastoring at this church, loved the church, loved the people of the church, and I just kept sensing it was time to go. It was time to go. It was time to go. Um, my husband and I were in disagreement about what that looked like, right? Like, what does us leaving look like? What does the next season look like? And when I had been at that church, I'd always envisioned something more. Part of it was running from the call of God for my life, right? Like, if the Lord could let me choose what I want to do, I would be a professor at Harvard or one of these Ivy Leagues, like teaching people how to learn because I loved school. I'm a huge nerd and I enjoy learning and I enjoy the context of learning and I love when people's face light up when they understand something. So like that's where I would thrive and or I'd be making a lot of money as an OBGYN and get to play with cute squishy babies. Um, in my head. This is like the dream world I have. But when God called me to ministry and I was planted at this church, I was just looking for avenues of escape. And so like I remember several times applying to like grad school programs or like trying to apply to grad school programs, looking for like alternatives for how I was going to move, trying to low key leave the church without necessarily communicating to my pastors at the time that I was leaving. Child, the drama. Like there was one time I was going to this really like prophetic church. Um, and it was the church where the guy ended up killing his wife. I'm laughing not because it's funny, because it's wild. Um, and I was not supposed to be at that church. And like the way the Lord snatched me up from like entertaining that thought was He sent someone who went to that church to come to my current church that I was at that time to tell me like, yeah, girl, like them people are cuckoo for cocoa puffs. Don't go over there. Like that is not what you want. And so of course I ended up staying at my current church. There was other times where I was like, well, let me pursue like a higher degree, not in ministry. Um, and see if it moves or shakes. It didn't move. It did not shake. And then eventually I ended up getting my MBA, staying at the church and just being like, all right, God, if you're going to call me to be a pastor or whatever this is, like, at least let me make some money on the side so that I don't depend on the church to finance any kind of lifestyle that I have. And so I was being processed at that church and I love my pastors. It was honestly like such a building season, but it was a lot of stripping, a lot of humility, a lot of just understanding how God works. Not, because of my mother's faith, not even because of my pastor's faith, but because of like his intimate calling in my life and to me. And that church was the church where I was awakened into the prophetic. That church was the church I was anointed into the office of the prophet, um, not appointed because God appoints, right? Man anoints, um, in the sense of the visible, tangible anointing that God has already given. And so that church was where I also flexed my builder muscle, right? Like building up ministries, building up, events, building up teams, building up individuals, tapping my foot into mentorship. That church was also where I was probably the most brokenhearted. From a variety of things, for the sheep and just how people can, abandon God when it gets hard, because I was so intimately connected in a lot of people's lives, um, even to the ignorance and to the lethargy when it comes to people's spiritual faith and how they can walk so far with God. But then because it got harder, because the warfare got daunting, right? Instead of refocusing their gaze, they just kind of pulled back. Like I remember I was mentoring this one young lady and like she just stopped hitting me up. And I was like, I'm not going to hit you up to mentor you, because one, like I'm pouring into you and I desire for you to become who you are supposed to be. But if you don't want it more than I want it, then I can't do anything for you. So we stopped talking, but that kind of broke my heart. No, no foul, no play. Um, And then personal relationships, like transitioning from being peers with a lot of the people I went to church with, because we kind of all grew up in the youth group, to being a leader of my peers. Like that was a super isolating experience. And it just really taught me about the character of people. And then to constantly having to answer for why I walk so boldly and why I walk so confidently with the Lord, and why, I was, did not lack trepidation to, the rumors and the insults and the secret conversations and the accusations and, like the stuff that no one tells you about in ministry, or people like hint at, but they're hinting at it from like a bitter place where they're harboring resentment. Like that church processed me, y'all. And then like I was in love with the family, like in love with like the leaders of that church, and like they were my family. Like I called them like spiritual parents, to just how everything ended being so almost violent in its breakup, and just so heartbreaking, like the betrayal on probably what they felt like was both sides. And it was a lot. And 2023, I sat my butt down, not willingly, because remember, I find my worth in doing stuff, or I found my worth in doing stuff. So to have God really just be like, yeah, just chill, just go to somebody else's church, be a member of the crowd. Yeah, you could serve kind of in this department, but you go, you fix your family, and then focus on intentional as I lead you to. Like that was the direction of the Lord for 2023. And that was so stinking hard, because I was like, Lord, I can do so much. And he's like, yeah, but you need to rest, and you need to process your pain, and you need to heal, and you need to not bleed on anybody. And I was like, okay, sure. I guess I can do that. Depressed the whole time. Had to go through deliverance the whole time. And now like 2024 comes around, right? And I'm intentionally not giving y'all details of this transition, because I know there's a lot of you that are watching this video because you're nosy and you have a spirit of gossip on you, and you need to get off this line. Have a good day. Bye. Sometimes you gotta just insert the harsh word there, because we gotta test our hearts. Like, why are you really here? Like, are you trying to grow and do the new thing that God has called you to really participate in this testimony? Or are you trying to find out what happened and what the tea was? Because it's giving the former and not the latter. Anyway, so now we're in 2024. I've gone through deliverance. I've processed, and I've just been kind of waiting on the Lord. Like, God, what is this? Like, my birthday's coming up, and I'm getting these thoughts of doubt, these thoughts of like, oh, God is not going to do the things that he promised you that he's going to do. And then I just heard the Lord say, get off socials. Just get off. Like, delete the TikTok, deactivate the Instagram, just go somewhere. And I was like, sweetie, say less. I don't want to be there anyway. I don't want to be there anyway. And so I took 2 weeks off, and I like gallivanted through Cartagena with Inheritance Academy, which is a ministry slash business incubator, purpose incubator that I and my husband co-lead. And in that process, you're growing your business idea from idea to execution. Like the gift of my life is execution. You get in partnership with me, you're going to produce that thing, baby. I promise you that. And so we culminated with a group trip, and in the group trip, we just have a good time. And so I like was off socials. I was gallivanting in Cartagena, drinking, eating, having a good time. And the Lord was like, "You're gonna be back on April 1st." And I was like, "I don't want to. This is not fun here." And the week, Holy Week, Wednesday, talking to the Lord, did a fast, like a 3-day water fast, and it was 2.5 days ish. Did a 2.5 days, 3-day water fast. Third day, I broke it like earlier in the day. That's why I want to correct myself and not present a false image. But the Lord was like, behold, I do a new thing. It is finished. Like the work on the cross was not just the finished work of Jesus Christ dying and giving up his ghost. Like it is to speak to the season you're in, Obioma. Like you're in a season where it is finished. The old thing is that you're no longer that old, Obioma. And you are no longer operating under the limitations of your previous self. I needed you to shut down the noise so I could speak to the depth, the width, the height of who I've called you to be and how I've called you to operate. You are no longer required to exist in a lesser state, because Open your eyes. I have done a new thing. And so this is a point of testifying and also an encouragement. You're watching this and God is saying to you, I have done the new thing. I'm not about to do, I have done it. And you cannot perceive it because your eyes are not open, because you probably have a voice or many voices that are around you that are not speaking to the newness of God in your life, right? And the times have changed. Like, no longer are we waiting for Jesus to do the thing he said he's doing. Like, he's doing it now. And he's moving at the speed of your obedience because he's already moved and you're just perceiving it at the speed of your obedience. And so if God has called you to start that ministry, start that business, enroll in that school, so steward yourself well so that you can come into relationship for a wife or a husband, it is now. Kairos is now. I've talked about time a lot on my channel, but Kairos is now. 3 things that I'm doing in this new season that I will continue to do, and that are a crossover, not even a crossover, that are separating, right, the old from the new, is one, I no longer entertain what is not an assignment. In this new season, I no longer entertain what is not an assignment. What I mean by that, if that friendship is not what God will for me in this season is, if that mentorship, that discipleship, that conversation, the job, the trip, if it is not what God has dictated for my schedule, for the day, for the season, for the month, I'm not entertaining it. I don't have time for distractions. You don't have time for distractions. Hear me, O Israel. You don't have time for distractions. We're no longer entertaining what is not an assignment. Number 2, I am loving people purely. Like, no motivation on my part. Like, I am not getting into relationships with people. I'm talking about intimate relationships, not acquaintanceships, not out of circle, where we understand there's a utility for this purpose of our relating. But I am not getting into intimate relationships and I call people my friend and that love is not pure. I'm not doing it. I don't have any motivation but to love you into who God has called you to be. I am no longer putting anything above God and my family, right? It's God, my husband, our kids. That's it. And it's a hierarchy. It's God, my husband, our kids, right? God, my husband, our kids. And that's going to require a lot of let me talk to my husband. Let me see if that works with our family schedule. And I haven't done that in previous seasons. I had a mistress called ministry, and because again my worth was in doing and producing, I did not put my family at the precipice of what I needed to cater to. Like, there's a phrase that says charity starts at home, right? Like, the word love and charity are interchangeable in the New Testament. Like, love starts at home. I need to cater to the people that are covenantally yoked to me, and to the man that says that he would die for me and that forever, until forever do us part. Like, that's who needs to be my first ministry. And so, yeah, I appreciate that you want to talk to me and you need mentorship and guidance. Appreciate that there's an opportunity to do this and this. But if it don't jive with my family, the Lord gonna have to speak himself. He gonna have to come down in the fire by day or brimstones and talk or something. I don't know. But anyway, I pray this video encouraged you. I will see you at the next video. You guys have an amazing day. And behold, he does a new thing. So receive it, understand it.